Good Tuesday morning. This is the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing. Looking at our significant impacts, so we have quite a few. We do expect to see lightning activity spreading from south to north across Nevada Thursday through Saturday and sweeping across southern Idaho and into Wyoming Saturday into Sunday and also into parts of western Utah. However, in the short term, both today and tomorrow in parts of central Idaho and of course extending further north off the map, there'll be a trailing cold front with some isolated lightning on some very dry fuels that we'll be concerned about as well. This stuff up here in the north will be across the northern periphery, so the aerial coverage should be quite small, but given the dryness of the fuels, which we'll look at in a minute, it could be quite significant. Precipitation over the past 24 hours, dry across Nevada and Idaho. Some light precipitation with lightning across Utah. The first shade of blue indicates very light rains. You don't get into the wetting rains until you see the darker blues and the greens, which indicate maybe a quarter, half inch, or more. On the right-hand side, you can see where our lightning occurred across the spine of the Wasatch down into the mountains of southern Utah and down into parts of Arizona. The really heavy stuff staying well to the south. New fire activity, new starts in the red. You can see them a bit across southwest Utah and up the Wasatch spine. Existing fires in the yellow. Larger incidents have yellow circles around them. Observed precipitation both in the last 7 days on the left and the last 14 days on the right show how dry most of the area has been. The only exception is across portions of southeastern Utah, and we see that when we look at the fuels, and you can see the ERCs a bit more on the moist side, more green and yellows indicating 50th percentile or thereabouts, but where you see the dark reds and the purples, we're in the 90th to 97th percentile, which means near record fuels whenever you see those purple circles on some of those stations, and that has expanded significantly in the last day or two. And even up in Idaho, where they had significant rain maybe 2 to 3 weeks ago, a lot of their fuels also pushing the 90th to 97th percentile, especially as you get further to the east and also towards the Bridger Teton and Grand Teton Park area. So something we're looking at with the upcoming lightning. Infrared satellite imagery and upper level heights, we see that there's a bit of moisture now gathering in the Four Corners area, and you see the push down south here to the west, and that'll eventually start shifting northwards. That's going to be our bigger concern. Up here in the north, there is some moisture with a front. You see here with the enhanced clouds across parts of northern and western Idaho. That's something we're concerned about that could clip some of our areas as we go through later today. So for today, significant fire potential. We do have high risk in our Great Basin Predictive Services Area, Zone 3, and it'll be mainly in the northern periphery here where you could see some isolated lightning on top of some very dry fuels. Otherwise, you see how dry much of the Great Basin is at the current time. Looking at weather conditions and weather with showers on the left-hand side, you can see that across the northern periphery of our area. There'll also be some activity further to the south and east. These will be isolated showers or thunderstorms. Going to be some lightning, but also the fuels here a bit more on the moist side. Humidity on the right-hand side, single digits across lots of Nevada, getting primed for the upcoming lightning. And in the upper single digits to mid-teens across areas further to the east and to the north. Now, if we look to tomorrow, Wednesday, high pressure here on the left-hand side starting to form up, but we are starting to see some gathering moisture here in the green further to the south. It's getting swept up westwards. We'll be watching that northern turn. And for Wednesday, again, there could be some lingering moisture and some isolated lightning up in this zone here, but again, right along the Montana border mainly. Weather conditions here on Wednesday on the left-hand side. You can see some of that shower and lightning activity in the green up here in the far north. The gathering moisture further to the south, and humidity still bone dry, especially across our southern and western areas. Looking down Thursday, you see more black and a little bit of green on the map here. This means moisture levels will be deepening, maybe enough to support some lightning activity pushing to southern areas. On the right-hand side, you see where we have high risk for parts of southern Nevada and far southwest Utah. Further to the south across the Arizona Strip, any lightning that comes in should be fairly wet. And weather conditions on the left-hand side, you can see some of that lightning now starting to encroach into parts of Nevada. Not a widespread area, be hit and miss, but the overall coverage will be a large area, but percentages, it will just be over some of the higher peaks at the start. Humidity still dry here on the right-hand side. Precipitation, 3-day accumulation on the ground surface, not that much. The deeper moisture well to the south. A lot of this thunderstorm activity will have very dry air at the low level, so a lot of that rain will be evaporating before reaching the ground. Further down the road, Friday, on the right-hand side, we do see high risk expanding across parts of Nevada, Utah, and into the Sierra front as well. It's because the moisture starts deepening across the area. We're kind of in that zone between the very dry air and the tan shades and the deeper moisture in the green. That's a perfect ingredient for high-based lightning. And as we go into Saturday, you see that high risk on the right-hand side expands northwards into parts of southern Idaho and also into northwest parts of Utah where fuels are quite dry. You can see a large area of black and some green dots here on the map indicating the overspreading monsoonal moisture, not deep moisture in the dark green, which would wet things out, except if you get to the far south, but enough to where lightning will be a significant concern. On Sunday, we see dry air starting to punch in as this trough of low pressure deepens, and the lightning should start pushing off to the north and east, affecting parts of eastern Idaho and into the Teton area of western Wyoming. And then by Monday, drier air starts to pinch in. We could still see some isolated lightning in our eastern areas, but we should start drying out. We'll have to be concerned a bit about this drier air and maybe some strengthening southwest winds, so that'll be the next concern. And precipitation over the next 7 days, not that much reaching the ground through here. Light amounts, deepest right along the Arizona Strip. And our extended outlook, the 8 to 14 day period going into the first week of August, you can see there's a cooler than normal signal in the Pacific Northwest. It means troughs of low pressure may start coming on in, so we'll have to watch for wind. So we'll call it near normal. There looks like to be a better monsoonal signal across the Four Corners, mostly across southeast Utah. We'll see how far northwards that gets, but Nevada stays dry, Idaho stays dry. They'll continue to see very dry fuel conditions there. And that concludes our briefing. Have a great day.